My name is Jasmine Alakari, and I'm an activist and filmmaker working together with Earthrise Studios to bring Indigenous voices to the forefront of the climate conversation. We use compelling stories to challenge and hack the current dominant narrative with using our privilege to bring out the perspectives that challenge it. Currently, we're working with new technologies like 4D sound to amplify in new ways our ability to listen to these stories. We did this last year at COP, at the Indigenous Peoples Hub, at the New York Times Climate Forward, highlighting places of extinction. And next, we will go to Egypt to be part of creating a culture festival as a side event to COP called Culture COP. So last year, I was at COP26 in Glasgow, sitting in a teepee with Indigenous elders, Indigenous youth, and youth activists. And I was annoyed at the sounds of the cars coming from the other side of the road. And at the end of the circle, when it was closed, one of the Indigenous activists asked us if we had heard how beautifully the birds were singing today in the trees above us, or if we had chosen to listen to the cars on the other side of the road. This moment really stayed with me because even if I know my reasons to be part of the climate movement and to wanting to birth these stories that challenge the dominant narrative into the world, I really had to think about how my responses might be part of the problem and how I can unlearn my inner mechanics that I have that are products of this late stage capitalist system that we live in and are part of. And most importantly, how can I shift my listening and truly listen? So why do we choose to focus on perspective shift through narratives, listening, and centering Indigenous voices? Because, as we know, our belief systems, they're shaped by the language that we use. And our language is shaped by culture. And culture is what shapes ideas and behaviors and the social imaginary. Culture is what drives politics and shapes the future. So I challenge all of us culture makers, language creators, world weavers, to step up and to really realize how much agency, how much control and power we have through the creation of culture. So we know we need to find this new language right now, make this ontological shift happen. It doesn't matter actually where your agenda is, if it's in the Amazon rainforest or with the melting glaciers in the northern hemisphere, because the root cause is the same. What is the worldview? What is the language holding these values together? Capitalist values that are built on rationalism and separation, this rationalism, which is a secondary value that we just placed above everything else. And now we think that this rationalism is what's going to solve everything. So I propose we first stop and think about the way we listen. How is my response part of the problem? As we know, art can bring this place beyond the rational, can bring us to this place beyond the rational. It's a place of deep listening, of attunement. So let's stop and listen and find other ways of relating. find a place of mutual awe where hierarchies no longer exist. The indigenous cultures are such an important testimony to these multitude ways of being, of relating oneself to the world. What are their social imaginaries based on? Their stories, languages. It's a view of interconnectedness and interdependence, a life-centric society. So let's bring these stories to the forefront, to the center. All these manifold ways of relating and of telling stories. I remember my friend Taili Terena asked me, how do I connect with my roots, with my land, with my indigeneity when working on indigenous stories? And when was the last time I talked to my abuela about ancestry, about alternative ways of being? When do I get to delve in deep listening? So my question is, what is the story you will seek out to listen to? What is the story you will help empower and nurture? And the most relevant question for me in this moment right now is, what role does that story have in challenging the capitalist system and to bring the emerging world into being? In what way are we able to listen? Thank you.